from KCD Outdoor Productions. No, this is not a Chipp update or a Chipp tip. Those are more for as a comedic thing. This one's more or less talking about gun or deer hunting and some common myths, and then just some other tips that some people might not know. The first one, get all your work. The first myth I want to kind of talk about, or what they always say, get all your work done before the season. Well, here in Wisconsin, it is October 27th or 28th. I don't even know the date, to be honest with you. And I'm out in the woods, basically middle of the whitetail rut here. Bucks are chasing does, and I'm out in the woods clearing stuff up. Why? The reason I do this is I think if you're out in the woods year-round doing stuff, the deer actually feel less pressured. Because if you're out in the woods all summer long, all spring long, you're shed hunting from March, doing work out in the woods, doing food plots, and then come August, September, you completely quit, and then the deer, that month or two, they get used to not having anybody out there. Then when you start going in for hunting, and they have to readjust to this pressure that they haven't had for 2 months. But if you continually go out there and if you continually work throughout the season just in the woods, I feel like the deer feel more relaxed than pressured, because if you're cutting wood, you're just out with the tractors and stuff, or tractor four-wheelers, you're just out there working. The deer feel less pressured than if you like start walking through the woods and they catch you in your stand. I've had deer, I'd walk right into the woods bow hunting, and they just walk off. They wouldn't get spooked or anything. Middle of the day in the afternoon, they just kind of walk off and they come back later. So I don't believe that you should stay out of this woods during gun hunting completely. I think I like to do some work, cut some wood, clear some shooting lanes and everything throughout the whole year, and just kind of keep those deer comes in that pressure. The second thing I want to talk about is when checking trail cameras. A lot of guys, they gotta wash down, scent free everything when they go check their trail cameras. Well, I understand that's pretty important, but when I check trail cameras, I don't go in the woods, really. Most of my trail cameras are maybe 10-15 yards into the woods or on the woods line. And the reason I do this is so I can take the Kubota tractor, four-wheeler, whatever, and I can drive right up to the edge of the woods and check my camera. And I don't shut the four-wheeler off, I don't shut the Kubota off or anything when I'm checking cameras. The reason I do this is where I hunt, it's Kewaunee County, Wisconsin, agriculture. So the deer around here are so used to tractors and equipment running back and forth that if you just leave it run, check your camera quick, jump in, jump out, that doesn't spook the deer and they'll be back. And that little bit of scent that you leave on the tree on your camera where I hunt, they don't really worry about that. Yeah, they're curious, because deer are just curious animals. They'll check it out and look at it, but I've never had that effect having mature bucks show up on camera. A third thing that I like to do is, when I said I go into the woods and stuff, yeah, but I like to do it more on a rainy, windy day, especially if I'm going to be working up towards bedding areas. Like today, it's kind of rainy, kind of a little windy. This is drizzling. This is actually a good day to work in the woods. Most people would be like, oh, I'll wait for that nice day, or whatever. This is actually a good time to get out in the woods, make some firewood, do what you have to do, because not a lot of scents left behind. The noise is muffled. I know how I said number one, you want to get into the woods, but you want to get into the woods but you don't want to push the deer heavy. So I'll have deer when I work in the woods. They'll be about 70, 80 yards from me. I could watch them. I got a bedding area not even 200 yards from here, working in the woods. And those deer don't even move half the time. Sometimes they'll get up and come look and see what I'm doing. So I believe that you should work in the rain and stuff and muffle, and it just kind of gets those deer used to it a little bit. But if you're working on a sunny day, or sunny clear day, no rain or anything, the deer can hear, see, and smell you better, and they know exactly where you are, where you're working and everything. So it's just, I do most of my work on rainier days. Another thing, you don't have to have the nicest hunting equipment. No, not at all. As you can see, my hunting shack, I made it out of cedar, I think it was cedar pallets and a truck cap I got for free. The whole thing costed me maybe $10 for the price of nails, or screws, and some spray foam that I did around the corners and stuff. And I just used here as just used some cedar posts here, and it's not a whole lot. I'll take you up in there quick, but it's not a whole lot. I don't have a ladder or anything. You just kind of crawl up in here. It's not the nicest stuff in here, but I mean, it keeps you warm, and it keeps the deer from actually seeing you. I killed my big buck last year, right in here, within a few hours actually of getting up, setting this stand up, and getting it out here. I had deer by it. So you don't need the nicest things to deer hunt and see a lot of deer. Another thing, if baiting is legal, I do bait. Do bait in Wisconsin here. It's in Kewaunee County. It's a 2-gallon limit. I'll bring out bait. If they're eating it fast, almost every day I'll bring out bait for them. If they're not eating it, just a little bit, but always bait in the same spot, year in, year out. And get that. And if you're gonna bait the whole year, because get those deer used to it. Because if the neighbor starts baiting, then you'll come to yours first because they know it's there, and it's built right into their routine. One of the last things I want to talk about is let's see here. Oh, food plots. It's another one. I have a little small food plot. That's it. And I've killed deer over it. Bow hunting. I've had a lot of deer feeding it in gun hunting. What do I do with it? All I do is put some buck oats in there, some winter peas, some radishes. I put beans in there for early season, and some red clover, and that's basically all it is. It's nothing real fancy, just it's a real small kill plot that I put out there. But yeah, I have these huge fields out here. So people are like, why would you put in a food plot? Well, simple thing is, deer stage in it. Before they come out to these big fields, they want to hit these bigger bucks. They want to hit something small little plot before they enter the big field and come in after dark. So when a lot of people are leaving their stands and coming out early, or leaving their stands when hunting's over, or whatever, the big bucks aren't out in the fields yet because they're staging in the woods, just inside the woods. They're on their feet, they're not bedding down, they're just not, you just didn't see them that night. So when you make a little plot, kind of put it back into the woods a little bit. I have mine right in the bottom of a ravine, so the deer walk along the bottom of the ravine. They go out into the plot, they feed in there for about 10-15 minutes, which is quite a bit for a white-tailed deer, and they just stage down there before they come up into the fields here. And that pretty much wraps up this video about some tips for hunting whitetail deer and a common myth of not working in the woods. I'm out here all the time. Never bothers the deer really. Stepdad's out here in the fields, in the woods. Actually, the neighbor was cutting wood back here this year during earlier bow hunting season, and that didn't really faze them. So just kind of work throughout the year at your work. Just don't stop two months, a month ahead of hunting and say, stay out of there, I gotta stay out of there. Because once you start going back in there, those deer will catch on. But if you're constantly staying in there, they'll stick around and they don't feel as pressured. And one last tip: when you're hunting, be the first one out and the last one in the stand. What I mean by that: beat your neighbors out, beat everybody else, anybody else who's out hunting, beat them out in the woods for hunting, and sit longer than them at night. The reason I say this is because when you get out there early, yes, you'll bump the deer away. But when the neighbors come in, they bump the deer back. If you're getting out there after your neighbors, they go in, or they bump them towards you, you bump them back, and that's where they are in the morning, or at night. At night, you can bump them when the deer get bumped by your neighbors, and you can sit long, and you sit longer, even though you can't legally shoot. Just wait for those deer to wait for it to get real dark out, and actually you can get pretty close to deer when it's completely dark out. They're just less spooked at night. You can probably get within 100 yards without spooking them in the pitch black. So sit longer at night, and then you can just kind of walk out. So that's this video for some hunting tips and common myth that's debunked. Thanks for watching. I'll try and get some more Chipp updates out as soon as I can, and I'll try and get more videos like this. Stay tuned, guys.